Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of New to Weeaboo. This is number 13 for January 29th, 2020. I'm Nemesis, and I'm joined by Alca7raz.
Hello.
Yes, and again, yes, like I said, we are going bi-weekly for a while, at least for a while. I plan for a long time, at least. Hopefully that continues.
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to the second episode of January, second episode of 2020. And yeah, so far, anime-wise, not much different, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching Keep Your Hands Off Isaac-kin. That's that's actually pretty fun. I was genuinely impressed by that one so far. So there's that. Also, Room Camp. That's
that
fun.
thing started
It's very
too.
short but fun. Other than that, not much else for me. I personally have to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
I finally got my Sakura Nendro.
Oh yeah, you finally got that one.
Yep. So that's great. I do video reviews, by the way. Just telling you. That'll be
plug that.
That'll be a thing soon.
Shameless plug.
Of course. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that stuff. We're here to talk about an old anime. A very old anime.
Yes.
Anime that's actually approaching 30 years
Dang.
old. And as I said last week, it's Sailor Moon. Or Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
If you want to go that way. Because yeah, it's an old one. It's also like a classic. It's like the magical girl anime. It's the one that it's a big deal for various reasons. Yeah,
It has a lot of cultural significance,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, many things were based on it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It came out in the early 90s, and the based on the manga by Naoko Takeuchi. She made this along with a couple other things, but this is their biggest work. And then the anime was made, and then it became a huge thing in Japan, and it kind of became a thing in the U.S., but not a huge one. It was kind of a cult, a classic type thing in the U.S. for a while. It's kind of gotten bigger in the last decade or so, I guess, with people going back and rediscovering it.
Yep.
But it's a big deal, and it's like it's also 200 episodes long. So what we're doing is we're actually splitting them up into the different seasons. We're only talking about season 1, the first 46 episodes for this podcast. We'll talk about the other ones later down the line as time goes on, because 200 episodes is a lot to watch in a very short amount of time.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, it's basically about Usagi, who becomes Sailor Moon, and then there's other Sailor Guardians who come along and they fight the Dark Kingdom. That's the gist of it. It's
yep.
The thing is, watching it becomes clear that it's very formulaic.
Yes.
For better or for worse, it is a very formulaic. You can
is.
practically set your watch by when events happen in each episode.
Yeah.
It's, monster shows up. The Dark Kingdom is like, we need energy. And they send a monster, whatever. And then Sailor Moon and company discover the monster. They transform, fight a little bit. So Tuxedo Mask shows up. They defeat the monster. Laughter at the end. More or less every episode.
Not every episode,
but a lot of the episodes very much follow a very set formula, framework, whatever you want to call it.
Well, you call it formulaic, so it's a formula.
But the thing is about this one, also the thing is the what makes it special again kind of is the characters.
It's not really all that story driven. Things do change up near the end.
There is definitely story and lore and stuff,
especially near the end of the season 1. There's more emphasis on the story and stuff like that, but very much in the beginning it's a character driven show. It's about the interactions with them and all the different personalities, less than it is the actual fighting, if you can call it
even the
that.
fighting is not really fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it is just kind of standing around, maybe using the powers a little occasionally, and then it's just the big ending move, and that's it.
Yep.
But the other thing is the anime in particular, my understanding is the anime did take a couple liberties from the source material of the manga. It has a lot of weird and goofy funny bits in it throughout. So there's a lot of just Just really like you'll have I'm not very good with computers. and particularly again, one of the things they really did were a lot of the great faces, a lot of the characters pulled off throughout. Just the exaggerated things they did with the faces, just to really sell you on this stuff. It's just it's kind of, there's a charm that is, it's kind of it's a very distinct style that was of the time that isn't really around anymore.
Yeah.
For better or for worse. And I'm not going to make a judgment call of whether or not it's better or worse, but it's this sort of animation style is kind of gone now.
Yeah. When it comes to styles, you can't really say objectively something's better or worse because it's so subjective. It's all up to your personal tastes. And, if you grew up with it, you probably you like it a lot more depending on what you grew up with.
Oh, yeah.
But
the thing was, a lot of us, like our age, like in their late 20s, early 30s, that stuff, we might have seen Sailor Moon on TV a couple times or watched it like crazy, but we watched a very weird version.
Yeah.
The Americanized version with with Americanized names and a lot of editing and whatnot. And of course, some weird moral thing they slapped on the end, which using existing animation with a new voiceover because they have to have a moral. And it was brought over by Deke.
Deke. Oh, I remember Deke.
Yeah.
Of course, I remember that because of Sonic.
Yep. They did a lot of the cool stuff. They did Sonic. They did Captain Planet.
Oh, Captain Planet.
They did a lot of stuff in the 90s. I believe the Saban also kind of had a hand in it. If I recall correctly. I'm not entirely certain on that. But anyway, it was basically that kind of the push of Japanese. These Japanese things are kind of popular. Let's see what we can do here.
Yeah, and then 4Kids had their era of terror.
Yeah. But yeah, this they changed a lot of names like randomly. Asagi, who's Sailor Moon, who became Serena instead, stuff like that. They just changed made things more Americanized. They changed them from Sailor Guardians to Sailor Scouts.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to preserve the alliteration of the Sailor Senshi. Because they're Sailor Senshi, which Senshi translates to guardian or soldier. So they rather than that's a little aggressive, so let's just make them scouts instead. But again, preserve the alliteration.
Yep. Although, do you really want to preserve the alliteration of SS?
Yeah. Not a really big deal, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. So that's the thing. There's also less than great voice acting if you watch any old clips of the original English dub.
I
watched a handful of episodes, but the problem was it came on at a weird time. When I think when it first was airing, it came on like literally I can only catch like the last few minutes of it because that's when I got home from school. So for that, and then I think it transferred to a new network. And then that network decided let's have an anime here, which is, aimed at, preteens. Let's move it to 1 p.m. and weekdays.
When they can't actually watch it.
Yeah, and hey, why are the ratings so bad? Gee, I wonder. Can't imagine what's going on here.
Isn't able to watch it.
Yeah, so that was a thing. So it didn't really take off super well, and if I recall, it did not get very far before they just quietly canceled and never actually finished it here in the U.S.
I never did watch it as a kid.
I only watched a handful of episodes, and of course, because of the house I grew up in and stuff, I got embarrassed by watching because I was being made fun of because why are you watching Sailor Moon? It's for girls.
Yeah, I wasn't even really aware of it all that much.
Let's just say that's also that led to some issues down the line, which I won't get into here. Boy. But yeah, actually speaking of the characters and whatnot themselves, they're of course you got Sailor Moon, Usagi Tsukino. Yeah, she's the blonde who's long pigtails and a crybaby and very klutzy and
very
not
emotional.
A great student.
Yes.
That's her own words even.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's the main character, and she's the one who meets Luna and has to say, hey, guess what? You're Sailor Moon. Transform. You got to fight the Dark Kingdom. What? Huh? And she's a regular middle school. She's a second-year middle schooler, 14 years old. And eventually she's joined by Mercury, Sailor Mercury, who's Mizuno Ame, or Ame Mizuno, depending on which way you want to do that. She's genius, as they say, an IQ 300.
Holy crap.
Let's just not talk about how IQ is kind of a BS thing anyway.
It is.
But at the time, it's just like, see, she's really smart. Yeah, she always has the highest grades and whatnot. She's also very quiet and shy and whatnot and bookish.
To be fair.
Yeah.
You have to have a really high IQ.
Boo. 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 And then there's Mars. Sailor Mars, Rei Hino. She's a priestess at a Shinto shrine. You know, she kind of actually also can see a little bit of the future and whatnot.
Yep.
Because she's got some of her own power. Then she can also exercise demons, which is handy, turns out, when you're fighting evil creatures who are kind of demon-like.
Yeah. She's also a bit of a tsundsun.
A little bit. Yeah, she's very much aggressive in her dislike of some of Usagi's nonsense.
Antics.
Yeah. But the thing is, as we see, some of those antics are the same sort of things Rei is really into, but of course Rei won't actually admit it because Rei is a mature, classy woman of the 90s. And then there's Sailor Jupiter, Makoto Hikino, who's tall, strong, and also very domestic. Yeah, you know, she's that contradiction. She's tall, strong. You know, she can beat up all the boys. But she also, you know, is a really good cook and housekeeper and all that stuff. And she genuinely enjoys those things.
Yep.
So she's that weird enigma. And yeah, but she also kind of strikes out a lot with guys. Because guys get a little freaked out when the girl's taller than them.
That's because they're cowards.
Exactly. And the final Sailor Guardian to show up the season, Sailor Venus, Minako Aino. Who, she was actually a guardian before all of them. And yeah, she was over elsewhere, like in England and whatnot. And she's been doing fighting bad guys and stuff. And then she shows up at towards kind of really close to the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she didn't get a whole lot of character development in this because again, she showed up really late.
Yeah, she got like one real episode of character development. That was it.
Even that was kind of mostly just backstory, not so much her personality.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's but we do see some glimpses of it. Like she is kind of goofy, and she seems to not exactly remember turns of phrase very well. She'll get part of the phrase right, but completely blow it.
Oh yeah.
Then apparently, here's the thing. She was actually the focus of the prequel manga called Codename Sailor V. There was a prequel manga which was apparently in the works to become an anime, but they dropped that. Or at least an OVA, so it's like a movie or whatever. And then they dropped that and just made Sailor Moon instead. So so there's a manga out there if you want Sailor V's backstory, which is only alluded to here and there in this anime. But yeah, she's Sailor V, who's kind of this like celebrity person that Usagi's a little enamored by. Sailor V, she's so cool.
Yep, so cool. I wish I could be like her.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, you're Sailor Moon.
And
wait, this is hard
more.
though.
Wait a minute, this isn't as glamorous as I thought it was.
This is hard. And of course, there's Tuxedo Mask.
Tuxedo Mask.
Who definitely is not Chiba Mamoru. No,
definitely not. No.
Yeah, they kind of made it a little obvious. That's the thing. It's one thing is they make a lot of the twists, quote unquote, very obvious.
Very obvious.
Like this Tuxedo Mask guy looks and sounds a lot like Mamoru, this one guy who keeps picking on Usagi. Well, actually, they kind of just fight each other a little bit every single time they see each other. He calls her Bunhead and whatnot. Yeah, it's because they just fight. But then, hey, look, over the course of the season, they kind of don't fight as much as they used to. They're the fighting's kind of less
it
serious.
Becomes less serious and more like a playful sort of thing.
Yeah, that whole thing's going on. And he's Tuxedo Mask. And then, hey, look, they're all looking for the princess who, hey, we finally see glimpses of the princess who has long, blonde twin tails. It also sounds a lot like Usagi.
I wonder.
Yeah, it turns out, Sailor Moon is Princess Serenity. Who's the daughter of Queen Serenity.
Apparently, they don't change the name much.
Yeah, it's kind of what happens
naming your kids
sometimes.
easy.
That's what happens sometimes with royalty. Just keep the name, not only have to keep the bloodline alive, but to keep the names alive.
Maybe it's the family name, not the given name.
I don't know. Anyway, that's a thing. So yeah, it's there's the whole Dark Kingdom. You got Queen Beryl and the Jedi and Kunzite. I think the various ites.
All the ites.
Yeah,
all sound like rocks.
Kingdom. Yes, very much so. Yep, you got what was it? Yeah, because they're trying to awaken Queen Metalia. because
And
apparently
Beryl.
or
Beryl
Mataria,
was-
depending on that's where it comes from. I'm looking it up right now. Apparently, that was an actual mistake. It was mistranslated as Metalia when it's supposed to be Mataria.
Ah.
That's what's going on. Okay, there's Jadeite, Nephrite, Zosite, and Kunzite. Those are the 4 kings. Well, the 4 kings of kingdom of heaven, I guess.
Yep.
They're kind of the generals type guy. They're the main antagonists for large chunks. King Beryl just kind of sitting there for most of the time, just waving her hands around.
Wave your hands at a ball.
and yelling at them.
Yep.
Or quietly threatening them. Yeah, those are the ones who they are kind of around. Yeah, those characters are kind of the ones who send out the monsters, and then they slowly, one by one, fall as they fail and whatnot till we get to the final confrontation. This Queen Beryl / Queen Mataria, because they kind of do this fusing thing at the end, where Mataria just, here's my power, so you can defeat them. Yeah, because that's the thing.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of monsters. Eventually, they're just monsters from the Dark Kingdom. Then they're actually monsters who are inhumans because the humans are reincarnations using these 7 stone, the rainbow crystals, which all combine into the silver crystal.
Yeah, the fragments.
Yeah, which all can combine in the silver crystal, which is another thing they're looking for because that's apparently has all the power of the Moon Kingdom. And the Silver Millennium, yeah. There's a lot of weird extra lore that's dumped at the very last 10 episodes or so.
Which is about when, the style really starts shifting.
The formula
starts
starts changing a bit.
Because, like you were saying, it starts out really formulaic, but the formula does slowly change throughout the season until you start getting closer to the end, and the formula start changing quicker and quicker.
Formula goes away after a while,
and then it just at the very end, last few episodes, it's just
a completely different
very
thing.
different.
It's very, very serialized at the end. I think part of that is because of the nature of an adaptation like this. Because the later adaptation, the new one, Sailor Moon Crystal, rather than 46 episodes, it covers the same amount of story in 14 episodes. That tells me there's a lot of filler here. Because you got to have that. You have to have a new episode every single week.
Yep. We have this much content, and we need to make this many episodes out of that.
So let's make.
Let's pad them out.
Got to pad it out a bit because some of the episodes don't really go anywhere. They just kind of monster shows up and they fight it.
Yep. And everything goes back to the way it was before.
There's no real advancement of the storyline because, they're just filling time.
Yep.
Because they kind of give the manga author time to keep writing the manga. It's the same problem DBZ faced, or Dragon Ball in general, with Toriyama. They had to keep padding out arcs and add new arcs and stuff throughout that run because Toriyama was notorious for being behind on his deadlines and everything. But that was the worst problem. This one isn't as bad. They kind of generally kept things pretty tight, but there was a couple things about that. But that's the biggest problem, is I would say, is be wary of binge watching Sailor Moon. Be wary of that. It can start to wear on you.
Yeah, it's not. The episodes aren't really bad, but because of
the characters.
Yeah, and the characters are great, but because of how formulaic it is, especially in the beginning of that season, you try and push through so many of them, you're not going to enjoy it if you try and just binge them all that fast. It'll start grating on you. He's like, yes, we've seen this before. Here we go again. Yep. Here we go again. It's the same thing over and over again. And
yeah, the characters themselves, though, that rescues this, I think, basically from, that's what rescued it from what could have been obscurity. If the characters were not well written, this would have been just another note, just a footnote.
Yeah, and that's the characters are really where it's at. And one of the things I really did enjoy about this is that the characters are all different.
Oh yeah, very different.
It's not your standard.
They have some things in common.
They do have some things in common, but it's not like your standard. Oh, great! It's a girls' show in the 80s, 90s. So
that was kind of more of an American problem.
Yeah, that's again speaking as someone who doesn't really do anime. Again, I'm new to Weeaboo.
I will admit that there's a lot of slice of life stuff where all the characters fit the same 4 archetypes or so.
Yeah, there's that, but in the American side of things, what I'm used to is if it's 4 girls, there's girl characters. Every single girl is the same exact. Everything's rainbow and tea parties and that's it for every single character. And that's not the way this one is. It's every character is very unique. Mm-hmm. They have similarities, obviously, like anyone normally would. There's bits there, but they have unique personalities, and they're interesting personalities. There is some depth to them. Yep. So I was very pleased with that, and that is pretty much what really, like you said, saves it from obscurity.
Yeah. There's some, of course, there's some differences in adaptation. I've looked it up. Some of it's like some of the adaptation stuff changes things, but yeah, it's like you've got the general stuff. Like Rei fights with Usagi constantly. Two of them fight constantly with each other about whatever random nonsense, whether it's just Usagi's reading Rei's manga without permission, or just Usagi won't shut up about whatever thing, and there's fight constantly. And then sometimes it turns out Rei is just trying to cover up for thing, like the episode they went to a anime studio, and Rei's pretending like she's, that's for children, blah blah, and then turns out she shows up with a whole bunch of autograph boards ready to go, and she's right there alongside Usagi, getting all fangirly over the art that they're seeing being drawn at the studio. And of course, when they're being told they're being too loud, of course, Rei immediately blames Usagi. Not pay attention to the fact that Rei is also being a loud fangirl. Yep. No, nope, not me, not her, not for her.
I'm better than that.
I'm better. I'm not like Usagi at all. You're a little
Those two Usagi. Are perfect for each other.
Yeah. Let's just say, there's that's a weird thing, is like shipping. I can't talk about shipping fully because I know things about later in the series. We haven't seen all the characters yet.
Yeah.
Well, it's not surprising that people will look at Usagi and Rei and go,
"You're bickering like an old married couple."
Kind of go, too bad Tuxedo Mask exists.
Yeah.
Because Sailor Moon who takes Tuxedo Mask / Usagi Mamoru is kind of the couple. We kind of see that.
I guess if we're going to bring that one up, I think that's one of the other big downsides, because there is a bit of a problem there.
Yeah, big one. This is a
Mamoru is a college age guy.
Yeah, I remember the Sailor Guardians are all middle schoolers.
Exactly. There's a big
he's like 19
difference.
Or 20 years old, and they're like 14, so it's like it's a bit of a problem. Apparently this is far from alone in this genre, that a lot of these old shoujo manga and anime had this problem of middle school character that the audience is supposed to relate to kind of getting into a romantic relationship with college age boys, because they're kind of just indulging the fantasy. That's what they were doing. Yeah. Because the big fantasy was, particularly that age, middle school girls, you got middle school guys who are middle school guys.
Like the one that we do see. What's his name? I already forgot it.
Umino.
Yeah, who's a bit of a creep.
Yeah. So a lot, not surprisingly, middle school girls fantasize about older men. And, guys also fantasize about older women as well. It's kind of a normal part of growing up, is you do have fantasies and crushes on people older than you.
Hot for teacher.
Pretty much never go anywhere. Usually, if they do go somewhere, something's gone wrong.
Something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing. It's just these are anime. These are fantasy. So we can indulge in these. It's kind of a way. I think it's viewed kind of as a safe way to indulge in your fantasy.
Yeah,
to a degree, because the audience is being made for. There's nothing really. The thing is, there's nothing explicit about it, and and so they don't see it as a problem. But it kind of is a weird and creepy kind of a little bit.
Kind of,
and it's weirdly funny. It is brought up in the anime a couple times where it's like, isn't it weird for a middle schooler and a college student to be dating?
Yes,
it's brought up, and there's even Mamoru, and because there's a brief time Mamoru's dating Rei.
Sort of.
Yeah, it's this weird thing. He seems to be kind of humoring where he doesn't know how to get himself disentangled from this. That's what kind of comes across. And Motoki kind of brings up, I'm not going to date a middle school girl because Usagi and Makoto have a crush on Motoki.
Yep.
And he has no interest in them. He kind of sees them as little sisters. And he's like talking about how that'd be weird. And he just remembers getting kind of awkward because he and Rei are kind of doing something or another. It's like, oh no. But yeah. Oh. And there's a bit where it's like, Usagi and Mamoru as Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask kind of have a kiss at one point, and there's a whole thing about back in because they're reincarnations of these old versions of themselves. Because in Tuxedo Mask also is Prince Endymion, Because
Endymion,
yeah,
however you want to pronounce it.
Endymion, and they were lovers or whatever, kind of back in the day, kind of almost vaguely implied to be forbidden lovers of sorts.
Almost like a Romeo and Juliet.
Because Earth Kingdom and Moon Kingdom and all that stuff, and the Earth was bad, kind of being bad, and anyway, that was a thing. They're kind of lovers back in the past, and so it's like there's this weird, so they're connected, so it's fine. Honestly, all they had to do was fix it, was just make Mamoru a high school student, and
that would have shortened the age difference.
Yeah, he would have been. They say like a first or second year in high school, it would have been fine.
Yep.
You would have been like 16 or 17 years old, and it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2 to 3 year.
That would have been no problem. And it still would have indulged in the fantasy of a hot older guy.
Yep.
But nope, had to make him a college student. Which is, it is unfortunate. I think that's its biggest failing as a franchise overall. Is just the kind of the okaying of that kind of relationship.
Yep.
It is kind of weird. But again, it's apparently far from alone in this. This was a common thing back in that this
because
genre.
It's common doesn't mean it's right.
This is a common thing back in that. So if you want to get into this genre, if you're into this genre when you're at the time, you saw this constantly. This is far from the only adaptation of the manga. Of course, of the original manga, there's this adaptation. There's the new Sailor Moon Crystal adaptation, which apparently is a lot more faithful to the manga, which means I've heard it's a lot drier and even outright boring at times. Apparently, I've heard. I don't know. I've heard that. That's why I haven't actually watched the new one, because, I don't want to watch it now that I've been kind of immersed in this one for a while. The other thing, I know the first season of the new anime is plagued with animation issues.
Oh boy.
Because they kind of got it, as from my understanding, they kind of rushed it to get it out the door. But apparently they recovered a lot, and now there's been multiple seasons of that, so there's that, I guess. There also was a live action adaptation for a while.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And there's also apparently, I think a year or two ago, they've started doing a stage production.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well then.
Yeah. It's a big franchise.
It is a very big franchise.
I'm seeing the franchise has generated $13 billion in worldwide merchandise sales.
Yep.
That's a big franchise.
It's a big franchise. There's a lot of money involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's been around for almost 30 years now. Actually, it has been finished for
almost as old as we are.
Yeah, it's been almost 30 years. But yeah, we're going to cover a fraction of it. There's also that weird thing where it's like, the other thing was Naru and the crush on the bad guy.
Oh, Naru. That whole thing and everything else with her.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for her.
Yep.
Because she always ends up getting the short end of the stick on things. She ends up getting a crush on the bad guy, and just stuff always happens to her.
Mm-hmm.
Always gets wrapped up in all this stuff, and she has no idea what's going on. And she really should have been told, but at least informed of, hey, this is what's going on. She needs to know. She deserves. But no.
Nope. You don't get to know any of that. Why would you get to know any of that? It's ridiculous. Shut up.
What? No, I'm not Sailor Moon. Just let her know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Again, she's one of the characters who's kind of played with a lot more. When it comes to various adaptations.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about how she deserves to know these things in the live action series. She did know these things, get to know these things eventually.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
She's kind of a different role in that. So there's that whole thing, and of course, she also eventually winds up dating Umino, who Umino initially had a crush on Usagi.
Right.
Usagi pretty much shut him down pretty hard.
Yeah,
and then the two of them feelings kind of started to develop.
Yep, sort of. At least in the anime, sort of accidentally at first, and the whole he was trying to pretend to be Tuxedo Mask and
Tuxedo Umino Mask.
Yes, and then the real Tuxedo Mask
come in, Sama.
Yes, and then the real Tuxedo Mask shows up, and she gets confused.
Yep,
thinks that yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, the whole thing is like. There's the thing about the fight scenes. They're not really fights for the most part. It is really just a lot of standing around, yelling at each other. Monster attacks a couple times. Sailor Guardians dodge, maybe attack with their own powers. They have their own, each of them, their own unique abilities.
Some more than one.
And then sometimes Tuxedo Mask comes in, throws a rose or whatever, makes a speech, and then someone tells Sailor Moon, do it now, and then she throws her tiara and stops the monster. Or later on, she uses her moon stick to cleanse the monster, turn it back human.
Moon stick.
Yep, the moon stick.
This is my moon stick.
Yep. It is the formula, but again, some of the monsters are really silly.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I will say this, sometimes gets a lot goofier later on in the series, so prepare for that.
Oh boy. God, it's like some of the old Sentais. Some of the live action Sentai is like Power Rangers stuff. You look at the monster just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, and we only kind of character interaction. We only mostly talk about Usagi and Rei so far. Makoto, her whole thing is just like she keeps getting crushes in these guys, and because they all remind her of her old senpai, who broke her heart.
Yes,
she's trying to chase after a replacement for the one guy she can never have.
It's like, that's not healthy.
No, it's not.
That's
but she
really
keeps
not
doing
healthy.
It. And Ame just this whole friendship thing, and actually, it's still kind of newer. She's also the most serious in the one. She's gets least distracted by random stuff when they're trying to fight the bad guys or find them or whatever they're doing, figure out their plans and whatnot. And Luna likes that, but sometimes, occasionally Ame gets a little distracted, but not often.
Luna. Yeah, we haven't talked about Luna.
Luna the cat. She's the one who kind of tells everyone who they're about their powers, except for Venus. And, gets them to become Sailor Guardians.
And in some ways, Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
Here, do this. What? Why? Just do it.
Just do it.
Are you going to explain anything? Nope.
Don't have time. There's no time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
Well, the wizard did come from the moon.
Yes, it did. Yeah. The Luna's, she's the animal buddy, I guess.
The talking cat.
The talking cat. She's the one who knows this stuff. Well,
the familiar.
Yeah, she's the one who kind of tells them all these things. That's actually vernacular that I need to keep in mind, because that's something else I got to talk about.
Familiar?
So, yeah, because for this anime right here.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's the one who kind of has some of the answer, because apparently we find out that Luna and Artemis's memories are partially wiped for reasons.
For plot reasons.
Yeah, because I think that's an artifact of I'm still trying to making it up as I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. So it's like you kind of have to follow along with the manga. So, and also the anime did change a couple details from the manga as well. Some things, like for example, the general guys in the season were apparently love interests of the Sailor Guardians back in their previous life.
Oh,
in the manga, not so much in the anime.
Not in the anime.
Yeah, in the anime, they're just bad guys.
Except for Naru.
Which she's not a Sailor Guardian.
That was different though.
She's not a Sailor Guardian.
Yep.
Yeah, and she's the one who kind of sort of redeemed him, because he was all willing to actually renounce the whole evil thing and maybe become a good guy. Then he gets killed.
And then he dies.
Redemption equals death.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she was pretty, well, not surprising, pretty affected by that.
Yeah.
Shut herself in a room for like a week straight.
Yeah, your love interest literally died in your arms by weird, crazy monsters.
Yeah. She recovers eventually, but yeah, she takes a while, because not surprisingly.
Talk about age difference creepiness in your love interest, though. He was much older than a college age guy.
And again, like I said before, Minako, we don't get a whole lot about her because she comes in so late. I will say this: she does get a lot more development in later seasons, which is good. Because yeah, she comes in so late, she doesn't get a whole lot. We get the weird thing where she follows middle school logic of she was Sailor V. She had a crush on a guy she worked with a little bit because she was working the police, Scotland Yard particularly, I think. And there's the detectives and all that. She gets a crush on a guy, but this guy actually falls in love with a woman his age. Shocker. And there's a grenade or something in a warehouse. She blows up, and they think Sailor V's dead, and then she just walks off because, oh no, I was betrayed by this woman. She went after the guy I had a crush. She knew I had a crush on.
Yeah,
middle school logic. It's but whatever. And then they meet up later. It's fine. That's the whole thing. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Middle school logic.
So, quick question: who's your favorite so far?
Luna.
Really?
I like the cat. The cat's great.
Okay. Interesting choice.
But if you restrict it to the actual Guardians, and that is sort of a joke, but I do really like just the personality of the cat. It's great. It's really tough to say because it's like aspects will probably be a split between Jupiter and Mars.
All right.
Because there's aspects of both of them that I like, but yeah, hard to say which. But the personality of Luna, I just like it's just fun to watch Luna just struggle. It's like, oh no.
The other thing is Artemis doesn't get a whole lot of personality early either.
Yeah, well, the same reason as Sailor V doesn't not a lot. Although
he's the guy who's kind of just awkwardly hanging around. There's a couple times where he's kind of like he turns out because Luna always went to this little arcade cabinet in the game center and
to get information.
To get information, turns out it was Artemis the whole time. And then the malfunction, she revealed him, and she got pretty mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, my favorite characters. Well, at this point, when I finished season 1 for the first time, my favorite was kind of leaning towards Jupiter at the time, with a little bit also like Mars a bit.
Jupiter and Mars.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised. I was expecting somewhat closer to like Mercury.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would expect that, but nah, I don't know. Mercury never really. I don't know. She never really appealed herself to me to that degree. I guess she's not that she's a bad character or anything.
They're all great characters,
but it's just
in their own
she
ways.
She never quite appealed to me as much as like Jupiter or Mars do. So that's the thing. But anyway, earlier I told you to keep in mind the whole thing about familiar and stuff. Because remember, Sailor Moon is Magical Girl, right?
Right.
It's not the first Magical Girl.
No.
Before this, Magical Girl was very different, though.
Really?
Yeah, the closest modern example, which you are familiar with, is familiar. Is Little Witch Academia. That's the closest modern example of classic Magical Girl, which is basically teenage witch girl on various misadventures and nonsense.
So
that's what it used to be.
Witches and classic fantasy magic.
Kind of more about this witch girl kind of having various misadventures, often through either goofing up magic spells or meeting creatures or whatever.
Right.
Sailor Moon came along and was like, you know what? Let's take some Sentai and Shonen elements, cram them in, and have a group of girls using magic to fight bad guys and monsters. And it blew up.
Yeah, because it's like there is a lot of similarity between this and classic Sentais. I was noticing that the whole time.
And Shonen a bit as well, Dragon Ball and those things. And so they did that. Cause like you see the manga authors are like, this can appeal to girls as well. Does not have that sort of thing. And
yeah, because Shonen is like very much guy.
Yeah,
thing.
Literally. Boy. The Shonen is boy.
Huh.
Yeah, and Shoujo is girl. Yeah, so she did that and completely overhauled the genre. Like one thing completely overhauled the genre. After this, everyone's like, we gotta go after Sailor Moon and trying to emulate Sailor Moon to varying degrees of success.
Varying degrees of success.
I mean, stuff like Cardcaptor Sakura is another one that's a big one that, all doing their own spin on it, but all kind of the same core concept of usually middle school girl fighting monsters or bad guys or whatever using magic.
Yeah,
like this, and all crazy transformation sequences and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but this is
the classic. Magical girl transformation sequence. It's now the thing.
The thing, yeah. And this one is also, this is the one that it's kind of like, to a degree, the Seinfeld, the one that where all the cliches and tropes came from. So it's like, if you are really familiar with Magical Girl and go back and watch this, you're like, this is super cliche.
It's like, well, it wasn't at the time.
Because it set up all the cliches.
This is where the cliches were made.
It's the same sort of thing. It's I think TV Tropes calls it Seinfeld is not funny. Because it's cliche as heck. Why do people get? Why do people like this? I don't get it.
It's
because it set up all the cliches. And then later on we get the deconstruction of which is Madoka Magica, or that's a whole discussion we'll get into differently time. Just people say people argue about that deconstruction status.
What exactly
that in of itself now has its own thing of everyone's trying to chase Madoka Magica now.
Yep.
Except for Sailor Moon Crystal. Anyway, yes. So Sailor Moon changed the game overnight, and because of that, and became a massive success. And well, not only just had a big impact on the magical girl genre, it had an impact on anime and manga in general. Like so many, and then even in Japanese culture, and then even to a little degree Western culture as well, have all had some degree of influence from Sailor Moon now.
Yep. Because anyone who like the kids who grew up watching it and then get into the industry, carry that with them.
Constant references, just again, big things like stage productions of it, the story, and like recently, like Western Star versus the Forces of Evil, Western cartoon, very clearly draws inspiration from Sailor Moon.
Yeah, the little handheld wand and the transformation sequences, and yeah, it's very, very much has inspiration from it.
A lot of stuff, just and the general design of the outfits, their Sailor Senshi outfits.
Yep,
those also kicked off a lot of inspiration themselves, and sometimes in less than savory ways.
Yep.
Because yeah, they're kind of a weird, hyper cutesified version of Sailor
uniforms.
Uniforms, which were a lot of school uniforms were. And now school uniforms in Japan are changing over to a more Western style coat type, blazer and whatnot.
Yep.
Because the fetishization of the sailor outfit has become so overt and rampant that, yeah, they kind of have to change it because, surprise, a lot of less than
savory.
Yeah, less moral men on like trains and stuff don't really have a concept of personal space.
Yep.
So yeah, there's stuff like that. But anyway, Sailor Moon changed so much overnight. And like, we're still kind of feeling the effects of it now. So it's kind of a crazy big thing.
Yep.
It's like, it's one of those things like, you're kind of almost to the point of like, it is in and of itself a legendary anime. It is like one of the big ones ever.
Legendary.
Yeah. Like, we talk it's up way back in the Evangelion episodes, like that's a big deal of an anime.
Wasn't one of the whole legendary thing? What did you say? One of the voice actors?
Yeah. The VA for Usagi went on to voice Tai Yamada.
The legendary.
Yeah.
So yes. Legendary.
Yeah. Let's see. Usagi was voiced by Kotono Mitsushi.
Probably butchering these names.
Mitsuishi, possibly. That's probably what it is. But yeah, she's also done Zombieland Saga as Tai Yamada.
Yep. The legendary.
Well, apparently, briefly, she was voiced by someone different for a couple episodes.
Huh. Yeah, they can happen.
Oh, that's why. The main VA had appendicitis, so she had to...
Yep. Yeah, that'll usually take you out for a bit.
Yeah. Oh, and so Kai Araki, she who also voiced someone else, which we have not met. You have not seen yet.
I have not seen yet.
Yep. So yep. She a legendary VA voices a legendary character.
Yep.
Tai Yamada is legendary just because she is. You don't need a reason to be legendary. Yeah, it's like it is a big deal. Period.
It is. Undeniable. Even if you don't like the show, you have to admit how important it is. That actually reminds me. There's a thing. I'm gonna totally cross it over with something else that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Extra Credits,
yeah,
they recently did a video talking about if you should play old games. And one of the things is, if you just want to play games, no. But if you want to be a developer, you probably should. And that's one of the things. If you want to get into, the history of anime, or you want to start doing stuff within the industry, stuff like this is so important. It's so culturally important to the entire industry. You need to go back and watch it. You don't have to like it.
But you need to know
you need to know because it is so important. So many things are based on it.
Although,
you need to know where it came from.
I would say with this, it's worth watching regardless.
Yeah, I would say you should watch it because
it does sometimes show its age. It kind of shows, and that it's very formulaic and predictable and whatnot. And sometimes the animation was a little on the cheap side.
Yes.
It was Toei in the 90s.
Yeah, how fast I had to push them out.
I had to push out an episode a week. There was no breaks. So season 2, I looked it up. Season 2, first episode, season 2 aired 1 week after the last episode, season 1.
Yeah.
There were pretty much very few breaks. They had to...
No breaks on the Sailor Moon train.
Yeah, so it's like... Because, like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. So, yeah, and it ran for a while. The anime itself hit in, I believe, 1992. Yeah, March 7th, 1992 was when it first aired. Yeah, it's a fun time, I think. Don't binge watch it too much. Watch like 3 or 4 episodes at a time. Just smaller chunks, not massive chunks if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
It is available on Hulu. Just an FYI. As far as I can know, that's the only place I can find that has it on streaming is Hulu. Maybe Funimation has it. I'm not sure. I don't think so, though, because it's Viz Media. Yeah. Sailor Moon Crystal is also on Hulu if you want the shorter version.
Yeah.
This is 200 episodes. We have only covered the first 46. We will get back to the other ones as time goes on. There's also 3 movies. The 4th movie on the way, but those are kind of like Dragon Ball movies, which they're non-canon and often contradictory to the main story.
Yep. Bound to cause arguments.
Yeah, they're literally considered non-canon because they completely and totally contradict things in the main series. So they are not necessary to watch, but if you do watch them, you go, hey, wait a minute. How is so-and-so there when there shouldn't be? That sort of thing. They should not be there, and yet they are.
It's an AU.
I don't know what it is. But, yeah.
Don't think about it too hard.
Also, I'll say this right now. You cannot convince me that any of the Sailor Guardians are straight. You cannot convince me of that. But Usagi's boy crazy, yeah, but she also is kind of making weird lovey-dovey eyes at Rei sometimes. And yeah. Makoto stared a little too long at Ame when she fell over. Just kind of sat there.
It's like, oh,
staring, blushing, still staring. Makoto, you're getting a little too obvious there. Even if they still show interest in boys, just because they show interest in boys doesn't mean they're straight.
Exactly. Bi and pan are a thing.
Yes. So just be aware of that. We'll revisit this particular part of the topic a couple times, probably over the course of the next few seasons. Because it's going to pop up several times. Trust me. It's not in the series at all, but apparently one of the movies kind of implies Mamoru might not be straight either.
So like the what's his face at the game store?
No. It's someone else.
Or someone else.
It's someone else he apparently met when he was a kid. That was the other thing. Mamoru is also an amnesiac. He lost his parents in a car accident and couldn't remember anything before he was like 6.
I forgot about it. Convenient.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing was he's trying to get the silver crystals because he wanted to get his memory back. Because, and he found his memory back. And it's kind of that weird thing of like, we're kind of allies, but we might also maybe enemies because we're both going after the same things for possibly different reasons. But it turns out kind of more or less the same reason. They're both looking for their princess. Turns out it's the same princess.
Yeah.
They just didn't know it yet. And the Dark Kingdom wants them because they want to resurrect Mitaria, and then somehow Mitaria, and then they have the big old fight. And that's the other thing is it gets dark at the end. That's one thing I almost forgot to bring up, which is people like to go, oh, Madoka Magic first magic will go to turn dark, because it really isn't.
You didn't finish the first season, did you?
You didn't finish Sailor Moon at all, did you? Did you actually watch Sailor Moon? Because to watch Sailor Moon, it gets kind of dark at the end.
It does.
But unlike Madoka Magic, which kind of wallows and enjoys being dark and depressing,
it's
still hope.
Yep.
There's still hope, no matter what.
Yep.
Usagi despairs because the Sailor Guardians die one by one. They die.
Yes.
They're not just unconscious. They're not just out of the, injured. They're dead.
Which is really surprising for something intended for younger audiences, that something's actually going to die.
Japan has different standards.
Yep.
So they died they all sacrificed themselves one by one and Usagi has to fight Beryl by herself. Because even Tuxedo Mask has been corrupted and brainwashed by Beryl. Because apparently Beryl has a hot friend, Endymion. That was the thing. Yeah, we skipped over a lot of stuff story-wise. It's kind of not the most important part in my opinion. It's the characters are more important, but there's a whole thing about the Silver Millennium, the Moon Kingdom, and betrayal, and the Earth Kingdom was attacking them because they were taken over by Beryl and the Dark Kingdom, and then Queen Serenity banished them all and reincarnated everyone, and Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the Clark Kingdom's reawakened, and that's why the Guardians have to come out and fight and all that stuff. That's the gist of it.
We didn't mention the story much because neither did the show.
Yeah, exactly. It was really kind of vague until the last
at
few
the very
episodes.
end. Oh, by the way, here's the actual backstory. There,
Yeah,
you're
there's
done.
no episodes. It's pretty much nothing but lore dump. But yeah, there's that whole thing. So she has to fight them all alone, and then of course somehow the spirit of her friends kind of joins them, and then she transforms into Princess Serenity, and they just a big magic beam battle and everything, and defeats the Dark Kingdom, and then everyone goes back to normal life, completely ignorant of the fact they're Sailor Guardians. That was the whole idea. It's a pretty clear and obvious end point, just in case the manga got canceled.
Just in case.
Yep, and that's the thing right there is it ends with they get to have a normal life, but the thing is they don't know they ever met each other, so they're kind of all separate again, having never met each other or anything.
The only difference between that time everyone came back and the first time is that Luna and Artemis didn't lose their memories.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the first time is our reincarnations not really the same people, but they are the same people as they were back in the past. And it's like, yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, it's weird.
Reincarnation is weird sometimes. Yeah, Luna and Artemis remember everything, but no one else does. And it's like, well, they get to have a normal life now. That's good, because there's a whole thing about this. They're Sailor Guardians. They can't have a normal life. They can't be normal middle school girls. They have to fight monsters, and it sucks.
Yep.
But hey, guess what? They could have a normal life. But hey, wait, what's this Sailor Moon R thing?
Oh no.
Well,
so much for that normal life of yours.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, that's the thing. Is just it does get dark at the end. They all die except for Usagi. And yeah, they sacrifice themselves trying to keep Usagi. And Usagi almost gives up several times. And they have to listen. Don't make their death for nothing. Because it's like Usagi's like, I just want this to stop. I don't want to see another person die. Which,
yeah, especially for a middle school. That's just that's more than they're expected to be able to take mentally and emotionally.
And of course, there's a bit where they try to trick Usagi. Look, see, there's Tuxedo Mask all chained up, and you can go rescue him. And she falls for it twice. What if he really is there this time?
That was great. No one would be stupid enough to fall for that twice. No, don't.
Where's Usagi?
It might be him, actually.
One part I really thought was awesome. I totally forgot about until rewatching it was Rei was the last one to sacrifice herself, and she because they're fighting these 5 monsters who were like
that scene.
Yeah, and she kills one with her fire. And then the other one's like, and she looks like she's already dead. The other one's like, oh, I'm going to take you out, Sailor Moon. And then she just grabs onto the long tentacle thing or whatever this monster has and says, I'm not done yet. And then it lights up.
Yeah, that was probably the most epic way to go.
Yeah, it's like, dang. I mean, she's still around long enough to, tell Usagi a couple things like, oh, yeah, I regret not kissing that boy who works at the shrine now. But whatever. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Cause Mars is fire, Mercury is ice. Actually, apparently, even though it's bubble spray. Don't think about it too hard. Jupiter is electricity, and Venus is lasers. I don't know.
Yeah, Jupiter's got the crescent beam, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's just like a laser.
Mercury is bubble spray. Mars is fire soul. Jupiter's supreme thunder, and Venus is crescent beam, and Usagi has moon tiara action and moon
the
healing escalation. That's her thing,
and she can kick people because she did it once. Although Jupiter does it more often.
Jupiter kicks them, and she lifted someone over her head and threw them.
Yep.
Before she was transformed, she lifted a monster over her head and threw them. It's like, damn. Yeah, I just had to get that couple of little things out the way there. I almost forgot about all that stuff.
Yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a really great scene.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very sad. Just going through that whole last bit, just they're slowly dying. Even at the second time, it's like knowing it's coming. I was like, no.
Oh, God. Mercury. I won't die.
Dies anyway.
She died.
Yep, they all die one by one.
Claims to be pro-life. Dies anyway.
Yep. Oh, man. Yeah, and they're all and them being all introduced slowly over the course of the series. It's yeah, so it's just Usagi first, and then Ame joins, then Rei joins, then Makoto joins, and then Minako joins. This very slowly throughout the series, and yeah, so they have time. They space it out so we have time to get to know each character before they introduce the next one.
Yep.
The only one who suffers from this is Minako.
Yep.
Just keep going on this because there's a lot there. And see, that's why good thing we only doing one season rather than trying to do the whole series in one episode. I don't think that would work.
Yep.
We kind of almost tried something similar to this with Raildex, but that was a weird, different thing.
Yeah.
Because the last half of that was just, hey, this part sucks.
Hey. Hey.
This one, not so much. This one's like pretty good. Just the formulaic nature of it can wear.
Yeah, it can wear on you if you're trying to get through too many at once. It can just like, I've seen this before.
But the actual transformations are pretty cool because, get the nice the beat to the music in there.
Yes. The soundtrack is pretty good.
Yeah, very 90s, very late 80s, early 90s.
The only problem with it is it's, recorded on tape, and
some of the
digital transfer, you can tell that the tape's kind of old.
You can tell some stuff got worn out and they had to somewhat restore it, and then there's only so much you can do at some points.
Yeah, sometimes like the background music and sounds are just artifacted really bad.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, but that's not really a problem. That's not really this anime's fault. That's just
the nature of the physical world that we live in.
Yeah, and also just at the time, remember, preservation was not necessarily a number one priority.
Nope. That's why a lot of even Western stuff is gone forever.
Yeah, like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Large chunks of Doctor Who are just gone.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole argument of film versus tape for live action stuff. We started doing a whole bunch of stuff on film because it was easy. And it was cheap because you could reuse the tape.
Yeah.
And archivists hate it because whatever they had on there is gone.
Yep, it's all gone.
They would shoot and edit on the tape, and then once it goes to broadcast, reuse the tape, and the original's gone.
Yep. That's how it was.
Yep.
Now preservation is kind of considered a little more important.
Yeah. And now since we're doing everything digitally, it's a lot easier to preserve the originals and stuff like that, so it's less of an issue.
Yep. Especially now, people just the idea of, hey, just buy the show, buy copies of the. Oh, you can do that now.
Yeah.
That used to not be a thing. Remember?
Yep.
I think that's it. Unless we start getting a little rambling.
Yeah,
we kind of already kind of all over the place, but like, there's a lot. So it's like, oh yeah, that was the thing. I really like this part of the. It's just generally a fun watch, I think. Still, just don't binge watch it.
Yeah, don't binge watch it, but it is still worth watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially just in the historical sense and for actual and general enjoyment.
Yes.
So that's it.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, you can check out past and future episodes at newtoweeaboo.libsyn.com. It's spelled Libsyn. All of the episodes will be listed there. And you can also see all the various destinations for said podcast stuff there at the top bar. And those are Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. For any of those services, search for New to Weeaboo, and you can find us easily. Because you'll show up, and you can subscribe, RSS feeds or whatever.
Yay.
And check, keep up to date. Because again, we are going bi-weekly, so we are becoming out more often. Twice as often almost. Or actually more than that in some of the cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out and those places if you want. You can also contact us, or via email, newtoweeaboo@gmail.com if you want to, questions, comments. What do you think? What do you think of Sailor Moon? Did you grow up watching it? Did you discover it later in life? Whatever. And of course, you can also recommend us an anime to watch if you liked. We might already have it in the docket. We might already we might put it in the docket for later. It might be a while before we get to it because we got things planned out pretty far in advance at this point, but. Hey, you never know. We might get to it.
Yeah.
And of course, you can also contact us via Twitter at NewToWeeaboo if you want to follow us there and see us like and retweet and all that stuff. As we, sometimes get on there, but not as often as we probably should.
Yeah, that's just run of the mill for us on Twitter.
Yeah. And Eric also follow personal Twitter. I'm at Nemesis Prime 1. He's at Alca7raz and an underscore at the end. Those names are also in the description of the podcast Twitter if you need to know. Yeah. Again, you can see a picture of my Sakura Nendo. You can see a picture of his lava lamp.
I bought a lava lamp. God. I realized I always wanted a lava lamp as a kid, and then someone posted a picture that had a lava lamp, and I went, oh, it's a lava lamp. Those are neat. I always wanted one when I was a kid.
I can buy one.
I'm an adult now. I can just buy one.
I'm an adult.
And I'm very pleased with it.
Oh, good. So, yeah, that's it for this episode. Tune in February. We'll be talking about Girls' Last Tour.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
very different.
Very different.
So, hope to see you then. Until then, take care and
See ya.
goodbye.